Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. This week, we once again have Guy from Speedgauge back because we needed some hard and concrete examples of how using data improves driver relations. That's what we're getting into next. Stay with us.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me back. I very much enjoy your show. One of the shows that I listened from you guys recently is from your discussion with Jessica Mata from Wellington Motor Freight and her approach to hiring a driver and engaging with driver. And I think that what she was illustrating is how to build a positive partnership with drivers. And I think that's really powerful. I think you mentioned she was recognized as a great recruiter and retention person. And I think it's completely worth to appreciate, people that are doing a great work and understand, what they bring to the industry. So thank you very much for having me and very interesting show as well.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. Let's get to the example.
We're excited. You've got us riveted here. Let's go.
I get sidetracked a little bit once in a while. So I want to start with an example that, maybe is a follow-up to our previous discussion of the usage of data to help the industry be better. And so one of my colleagues at the Driven Data Network, Gail Taylor, she identified a fleet that had a very low fare score, around the 600. And it was very interesting for her to try to understand. Yes?
I got a question. Is a low score good or bad?
So, very good question. A low score is bad.
Okay.
High score is good, low is bad. We will go back to that if that's okay with you guys after I go through the example. The detail of the fare score, maybe how to think about it. But first, let's start with the example to really illustrate what we can do. Okay. So she identified a fleet with a very low fare score, around 600. And she realized that something was not correct. And she pull up the data and realize that there was really some issue within the organization, but she had not spoken to the fleet yet. She just went, look at the data and say, there's maybe something happening here. So what she did, independently from anything, she reached out to the fleet. And what she learned, speaking with the fleet and say, hey, maybe you have a problem, maybe can I help? So what she learned speaking with the fleet is that fleet had lost coverage already once and was in the process of losing coverage a second time. So think about it. We talk about, insurance and how is it related to what we do? Well, insurance is something that is required by law. You do not have insurance, you cannot stay in business. Okay. That's a fundamental. Independently of the price, of the cost of insurance, independently of all of that, you do not have insurance, you cannot stay in business. And when you have lost coverage already once, and that you are on the edge of losing coverage a second time, well, you're in deep trouble, because as the company owners, that you may get out of business, you may have to lay off people, and that's not positive. That's really negative. So Gail reach out to that fleet and start to have a discussion with the fleet and try to really work with the fleet owner and the business owner to try to really understand what were the issue and how she could help. So what she did is that she educated them on their data, what we were seeing, on the fare score, on the driver level fare score, on the fleet fare score, on the risks that we were seeing. And she developed a ongoing relationship with them for the next 3 months in which she was able to help that fleet move from losing coverage to being back in good standing with their insurer and not lose coverage. So that's what the use of data can help. It can help a fleet that is in trouble. It can help people that don't know what to do go back and work on their problem if you are able to identify them. And that's what she did. So Gail is a typical person that, we are lucky to have because she takes initiative, she understands and try to help people solve important problems. Does that help?
Yeah. Well, I mean, can you give us any specifics as to what she did to help the company make these improvements?
So first, she educates them on the data. So one thing really important is to understand the data. Okay. So she went through that with them and reviewed the data step by step, using our FAIR score and then using the operational data of what's happening on the road. Okay. From there, they identify the driver that were the most at risk and that have the most issue that needed to be engaged with based on their driving patterns. Okay. So that she did that. And then she talked to the fleet manager and the fleet owner on how to engage with the driver. Then, so that she laid out the foundation. And then on a weekly basis, they started to meet and review the data of each driver. And that was facilitated by using the scoring, because with one score, you were able to measure the progress of each individual. And from that, by talking to driver, by looking at the data on a weekly basis, and some of them on a daily basis, she was able to bring their score from 600 closer to 700. And also what was that implying was that people within the fleet organization started to pay attention on, what were the incidents on the road, if there was, route that needed to be changed, what type of improvement within the fleet needed to be done based on the feedback and the communication between the driver, the fleet manager, and Gail. Does that help?
She learned to, or your customer learned to make data their friend.
Their friend want to understand the risk, so to assess that risk. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then they started to monitor the risk on an ongoing basis. So just to capture the value of the data on an ongoing basis, because we all need to pay attention to what's happening. And then the third part of it, the engagement part of it, identify the different, either route or driver needed some help and work internally to fix those problems. By doing that, it means that the whole organization fleet started to work together to achieve a more positive result and stayed insured, removing the threat of losing coverage within a couple of weeks or months.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the insurers are looking at the same data that the company's looking at, but through Speedgauge and the data network, you're looking at, in my mind, a total picture where the insurance company is looking at it in a very disjointed way.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, the application of using of the data can be very focused, can get down to the driver, the vehicle operator. It can go down to maybe even a group of drivers in type of location and type of roads they are doing. What's important once you have identified that is to engage and to start using the scoring to measure that risk and to improve that risk. So then now, instead of having a fleet that is in difficulties, that is losing coverage, you have a fleet that can stay in business. And that's really crucial. I mean, how many fleet can stay in business when they have lost coverage twice already?
Yeah.
So then when we think about data, being friendly with our data, and I do not believe that any driver was fired. Okay. That's the other. I think that when we think about it, if we can empower ourselves and if we can empower a driver, we have a much better relationship with data. So then the question is, well, how did she come to it, and how did the FAIR score developed by the Driven Data Network came to make this happen, and why? And that maybe we can say that now that we know that it makes a difference, let's look at why it makes a difference. I mean, I think the other thing is important is that their insurance company was able and willing to accept the FAIR score and to show the work that had been done and track as a way to show that the fleet was actually improving. So understanding that the FAIR score is being accepted by risk manager, by underwriters, by brokers, and by other members of the insurance industry is really important. And remember, one of the topic we discussed last time is the creation of a universal language to talk about risk from the driver to the reinsurer. And that's clearly, we can see this as a very positive application of it. No, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's really key that people kind of get to know that data. What is it telling you? What is it doing? And I know a lot of people that have access to it, from a motor carrier side, but they still don't understand what to do with it. They've seen it, they've looked at it, but they're going, I don't get what this means. I don't know what this means. So it's helpful working with somebody that can guide you and go, here's what we're seeing. Here's what we can do to make changes.
Exactly. So that's where, and there's different level of engagement. It can be done just by using the FAIR score. So if you, because it's a very simple tool, and if as a fleet you realize that you need more work, you can engage the risk manager and safety professional to come and help you restructure your operation. But all of it, and that's the beauty of it, can be measured. As last time I say, there was no voodoo magic. And what the FAIR score allows you is to really put a dollar amount to the chance in risk profile. And so, let's if you guys are okay, let's take a step back and understand why the FAIR score is an interesting tool.
Yeah, well, you talk a lot about this FAIR score, and I'm just kind of curious to see, what is the range of this FAIR score? Is there a sweet spot within this FAIR score? How does that work?
Yeah, John, thank you very much. There is a range within the FAIR score. It's, it goes from around 500 to 800, and it's a little bit mapped out and thought through the same way as a credit score is in the United States, And the sweet spot is between 680 to, 760, something to that effect. Okay. So that's the first thing. But, why the FAIR score? I would think that we want to really understand that. Why the FAIR score? Why a score like the FAIR score? Because there's a lot of score in the industry today. Every telematic provider provide you a score. Everybody else has a score. It's a little bit like, if you had a credit card company creating their own score and changing it depending on your need. Mm-hmm. Well, the FAIR score is independent of any of this. Okay. Right. So it's a standard across the industry so that, no matter what telematics you are on, so it could be Motive, it could be, Omnitrack, or no matter which insurance company you are working with, you are looking at one FAIR score, and it's the same across the industry. And that's, as we discussed last time, it's not a simple task to achieve because the data come in multiple form and look at, and so it has to be normalized, it has to be really understood. And the other thing is that the FAIR score is also based on ground up loss data, which is one of the uniqueness of that score. Basically, it's correlated and behavior is linked to losses and accidents. So because of that, we can, give insights on where, what the potential risk a fleet, an insurance company can see through that. And if you can use it to improve your risk profile, I think that it's fantastic. We know the margin of operation for fleet are not very big. So reducing your cost by a couple of percentage point can make a huge difference. So, and there is other benefit. I mean, we know that reduction in speed can also save fuel. So all of it, can help you identify, so assess a risk, look at a behavior, put a stick in the ground, monitor that risk. And then when that risk change, engage with it. I mean, when Gail looked and identified the fleet around the 600, she didn't have to do much more than just to look at their number and say, here's this problem. Then she can start digging into it. But the ability to identify that risk very fast, very easily, allow people to start taking action.
Right.
And
so that,
I was just going to say the FAIR score is available to anybody, not anybody, to like insurance companies or to trucking companies.
Yeah, both. But even to driver, if they want to have access, I mean, you need to go do that through your trucking company or transportation company because it's not limited. I mean, the other thing is that it's not limited to just freight. It can be about buses. It could be a lot of different activity with that when people drive around. And so that's where the FAIR score is adapted to the need of each and different organization. So that's really powerful. And why is it important? Because remember last time we talked about continual improvement and, the idea of, if you make, somebody was mentioning like, well, some organization want big change immediately.
Yes.
And well, I think that if they want big change immediately, maybe they should not, they should stop listening to our conversation. But that's
get out of the industry.
What you need to do is identify what needs to be done and engage on a regular basis to make small improvement. I mean, you remember I mentioned about the lean management which is all about the small and ongoing improvement. All of that is based, I don't know if you knew that, but on what calls the Toyota way of production. Identify a little problem and continuing to improve for that. I'm a huge fan of that approach. And I think it's very positive for driver and for the trucking industry. Because if you try to make one big change, that's going to create one big mess. On the other hand,
I was going to say, I liken it to a large ship, right? Your trucking company is a large ship on the water. It doesn't turn on a dime, and when and usually when you make mistakes, they don't happen in large chunks either. It's little mistakes that you're not paying attention to. And now all of a sudden you're off track, and to get you back on track, you got to make those incremental changes to improve.
That's right. And the beauty of having a score like the FAIR score is that you can measure the correlation between your actions and the result that you are going to have. And from that, and you can even set goals to achieve that where you want to be. And that's really actually much more powerful. It's a change in the way we think about risk and risk management. And that's really what makes a difference in what Speedgauge and the driven data network is doing versus the old way of looking at data and risk management. In fact, yesterday I had lunch with a insurance underwriter, and we were talking about, how, what the difference, why is what Speedgauge and the driven data network offering is different from what the industry is doing. And one is because we are offering to the insurance industry and the transportation industry a way to look at risk and manage risk on an ongoing basis. And that's a very fundamental difference that is done today. And we put a number, a FAIR score number that is linked to losses on the table. Now, the question everybody's saying, well, is it perfect? Is that score perfect? Well, that's you. If you are looking for perfection, maybe.
Look at Guy. Look at Guy, Chris. That's perfection. He's French, and everybody out there, he has not had cheese whiz yet, so he hasn't been.
That is correct. I didn't have my first experience, but I'm very tempted to learn about manual. So we are not looking for perfection, but we are looking to put a stick in the ground and to use that to measure both changes and look what can be improved on a regular basis. So that when you go to your renewal, because the other part of it we mentioned last week is that everybody is worried about 90-day period to renew.
Yep, very much so.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, everybody waits till right before insurance renewal before now it's time to look at my numbers and my safety score, my SMS, my national safety code number and my scores. And oh my goodness. Oh, this isn't looking so good.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't know it was going to look like that. So,
and so with that score that use operational data, and I think that's really important. The use of operational data linked to a risk, linked to a financial exposure. But because we can do that, it benefits everybody. Now, one thing I want to make sure, it's not just about the money, but because the fundamental of it is that we focus on it to make sure the drivers and the people on the road go home every night or at the end of their shift safely. I mean, but the thing is that the, money still play a huge role in it. And if the cost of your insurance, the cost of your risk increase too much, then you may have to get out of this. And that's not something we want to do. So we want people to be home safely. And at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that everything has a cost. Like, last time we were on the discussing, we came to the conclusion that there are risks on everything we do, and there is a cost on everything we have. One cannot be not linked to the other. And so that's what we do. We help people put a price on a risk. And reminding us all that the goal is for everybody to go home safely.
Well, and one of the things I think that's really important that everybody understand and the message that we convey, this is not a one-time fix. This is not somebody comes in and helps you and you get your first score up there. Now you have to maintain that, and if not, continually to improve, because the insurance companies out there are not looking for you to fix the problem. They're looking for you to correct the problem and maintain you to be at a higher score to maintain that. So, which will be, in the long run, it will be operationally beneficial to you because, as you mentioned earlier, just the fuel savings from less idling, less speeding and whatnot, those will continue on and on and on, less maintenance, wear and tear, and better drivers and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. And the other point that I really want our listeners and viewers to hear is, you said it off camera, Guy, that, we can't get away from the data. And so we have to learn to make the data our friend and to use it, because everybody's going to be using it. And it's better that we use it for us rather than, let's say, an insurance company using it against us.
It's tough.
Yes. And again, Chris, absolutely. What we mentioned last time is that we are all exposed to data. Okay. So that's for sure. The other thing is that I don't think that, insurance company are, looking at creating a problem with their insurer. I mean, they are part of the solution. They see themselves part of the solution. But I think what, at least talking to insurance companies, is that sometimes they feel they don't really have the right picture. Okay. And so then they need to provision themselves against having the wrong picture or not the accurate picture that they should have, because for whatever reason, somebody forget to fill up a certain type of information, or they put the information inaccurately in, or things like that. And so then, I don't think we need to look at, this interaction about data as a negative exchange, but as something that is really positive, because the flip side of that is that if you use a score that is widely accepted, that is not based on, everybody changing the data, that is basically a recognized way of measuring risk. If you use that to show your insurance partners that it's safe, that you are doing well in your management, both with your driver as in a company, then you can see really improvement in your risk profile, and an insurance company will want to work with you. So I think that it's both, as we remember, like we mentioned about that accident in Canada where the driver was exonerated because of the camera. In this case, as we talk about it, take advantage of the data and the fair score to show your insurance partner that you are a decent partner, or at least you are paying attention, that you want to work with them. And that really makes a difference. From an insurance perspective, what that brings to them to the table, it's a really new approach for them to engage with their fleet and their client partners. Because instead of being worried once a year at renewal, because they want to insure you and they don't want to have to say no to you. I mean, that's the flip side of it. We don't always understand that. I spend enough time talking to the insurance industry to understand that they don't want to say no. Okay. That's a misconception. They want to insure you. So help them say yes to you, and
I was just going to say, if you are measuring things and always improving your company, then you're going to be one of the companies that the insurance providers really want. They're going to be offering you the absolute best price for your company. So, but
exactly.
It's really up to the trucking companies and the transportation industry to make data your friend and to use it to your advantage to get the best from your partner. And an insurance provider is a partner.
Exactly. And so at Speedgauge, and at the driven data network, so we are using more than just speed to create that fair score, road location, road type, risk on the roads. We have a new component of it. We look at the risk of risky roads, things like that. So we have a lot of different components to it. We are, one of the repository of many billions of miles into our system. So we have billions of miles. I have personally spoken to hundreds of fleets. I have, we have looked at the behavior of many driver and many trucks. So, we have access, we have knowledge that is really important, and we try to bring that into the fair score to help everybody have a better interaction across the risk management industry. And I developed a risk management approach, which is, I like to think about it, or framework called AIM, which is assess, monitor, and engage. And you can do all of that. And it's a simple concept where, as I mentioned, my colleague Gail Taylor, she used the FAIR score to assess the risk. A 600 risk, it can very easily. And she realized that there was a problem. Then she talked to the fleet. The fleet, say, we have a problem, and we had a problem, and we are continuing to have a problem. We are going to lose coverage the second time. Then she was able to engage with them and develop an ongoing monitoring of the fleet with the fleet. Had nothing to do with the insurance company, as everything to do with the fleet coming back and being successful at getting and staying covered.
And I think that is a great place to leave it off. I think companies need to understand their data and engage with the data. And if they need more information, they need to reach out to Guy at Speedgauge or Data Driven Network. And Guy's contact info is in the show notes down below. So please reach out to Guy, get more information, learn how you can make data your friend.
So John and Chris, thank you very much for having the Frenchman again on the plate. I hope your listener got a lot of good information.
And that was a great interview with Guy from Driven Data Network and Speedgauge. If you want to make data your friend, Guy's contact info is in the show notes down below. Join us again next week on the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. John and I appreciate your attention so much. Have a great week. See you soon. We are gone.